September evening in 1952, the screen opened wide and thrilled audiences with this.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is CInerama. And this is CInerama.
Now, the motion picture that started the entire widescreen revolution 60 years ago returns to the curved screen.
CInerama gives us just about the full scope of normal vision in which you see so much out of the corner of your eye. That feeling of reality depends on vision off to the side, although you may be hardly conscious of it. Now the dizzy swirl of the aquacade flashing all over the screen, and there's plenty of screen to flash over.
Through the magic of SmileBox, you too can experience CInerama on a curved screen just like audiences of the 1950s.
Greatness and beauty of America, pictured with a splendor never seen before. Oh, beautiful for patrons green that sees beyond the years, line up the bastard cities gleam, undimmed by human tears. America, America, God shed His grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood, from sea to shining sea, from sea to sea, all hail to thee,
Good morning. This is Captain von Charner. We are approaching Switzerland and we are ahead of schedule, so we'll take you into Zurich by a detour over the Alps. Please fasten your seat belts. It may be bumpy. Thank you. And welcome to Switzerland. A pleasant CInerama holiday.
To go adventuring, to experience the excitement of discovery, to share the joy of a carefree, fun-packed CInerama holiday. To have a holiday in America came a young commercial artist named Fred Troller and his wife Beatrice as guests of CInerama, and two Americans from Kansas City, John Marsh, just out of dental school, and his wife Betty Tarwater Marsh. The Marshes were going off to Europe, also guests of CInerama. With these four people, all picked by sheer chance, CInerama's audiences would share a glorious holiday adventure.
From St. Louis, it's a long ride across this immense country. But now here is Las Vegas, a city we have heard much about.
Our Our first morning, we just loaf along the riverbank, soaking up the spring sunshine. We've decided to be out-and-out tourists. Art Bookwald convinced us that if you don't enjoy Paris, it's your own fault.
New Orleans fascinates us. The narrow, crooked streets, as in Europe, but we have come here to learn more about American music.
For the trollers of Zurich and the marshes of Kansas City, their CInerama holiday is an experience without end, an adventure to be lived all over again, and to be shared with everyone, everywhere.
Of the wonders of nature, we abruptly come upon one, near where the borders of Brazil, Argentina, and Paraguay meet. One of the greatest of waterfalls. Would you put Iguazu on your list of the 7 wonders of the modern world? And suddenly unfolding before us, the most spectacular city in the world, Rio. In our search for the wonders of the world, shall we include feminine beauty? Benares, religious wonder city of India, on the Ganges, the sacred river. The Taj Mahal. Runaway train. That's happened before, but never quite like this. Did you ever hear of the stronghold of Masada? The scene of tragic heroism in the Jewish revolt against Rome. The defenders hurling themselves over the cliff, preferring death to surrender. The green fields of modern Israel bring the Jewish story right down to date, from ancient tragedy to present revival. Israel restored. Now the camel stampede, camels by the thousands. Africa, wonderland for numbers and varieties of huge animals, like the elephant herd. The Watusi in the Belgian Congo, the tall people. For a lofty stature, they are a wonder of the human race. His name is Butera. He's the star. hailed as the greatest dancer in Africa, the Nijinsky of the Watusi. And what do we see ahead? Why, it's the Leaning Tower of Pisa, that slanting medieval wonder that still leans. Athens, there on the Acropolis, the Parthenon, temple of the goddess Athena, along a portico of the Parthenon, which may be an ancient wonder, but it is also modern. For it was here 2,500 years ago that was born the ideal of democracy, liberty of the mind, freedom of the spirit. And what about our natural wonders, such as the Grand Canyon of the Colorado?
The South Seas, enchanted archipelagos of Eden. From earliest times, the islands of illusion. To the first explorers, like Captain Cook, the South Seas represented a challenging quest for the unknown. To the missionaries who followed, they were a hunting ground for souls. To artists, such as Paul Gauguin, the South Seas meant one vast painter's palette of beauty and color. To writers like Melville, Conrad, and Stevenson, they were a living source book, teeming with romantic adventure. To millions of American soldiers and their allies, they meant 4 years of bloody island hopping. But to most of us, the South Seas represent an unfulfilled dream of paradise on earth. Now the enchanted archipelagos await the present-day explorer, you, as you voyage with CInerama toward new discoveries over the far horizon.
the north of India, we fly on to the hidden valleys beyond the snowy ranges. Valleys next door to nowhere. Here in the Karakorums, the mountains are, on the average, almost twice as high as the Alps, with 60 summits rising above 22,000 feet. Mustafa, our Hunza driver, knows every turn of the road, every inch of the way, every loose rock. Why he could drive this mountain trail with his eyes closed. But don't you dare close your eyes, Mustafa. Ah, this could be it, a land of escape, far from the hustle and bustle of the modern world, if you're in search for paradise. Hunza's national game, polo, which they say originated in these regions. These Hunza Kutnichinskis, some of them, are the chief men of the villages. A sword dance that recalls the time when the people here were wild raiders and looters. The Indus. Some have said that the gorges of the Indus would never be run. A challenge. And now a CInerama exploit on a frontier of river exploration. No turning back now. So through we go. On the road to Kathmandu for an event of international importance. Coronation of a king.
Applauded the world over. In How the West Was Won, Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer and CInerama have brought together the biggest and most distinguished all-star cast in entertainment history, characterizing the men and women who conquered the wilderness, finding a new life in this immense human saga of the American West. James Stewart is the mountain man. Henry Fonda is the plainsman. Adventurers such as these first explored the land. Then came the settlers who traveled the waterways, like the Prescott family, Carl Malden and Agnes Moorehead, and their daughters, Carol Baker and Debbie Reynolds, who left the frontier for a gayer life. There were the good and the bad, river pirates like Walter Brennan, notorious desperados like Charlie Gant, portrayed by Eli Wallach, and Lee J. Cobb as the dauntless U.S. Marshal who tracked him down. There were the gamblers and the entertainers. Gregory Peck is Cleve Van Valen, lucky in cards and in love. There was Robert Preston as the wagon master who loved in vain. And Thelma Ritter, a friend in need. Here, too, were the North, Andy Devine, and the South, Russ Tamblyn. And the famous of history, John Wayne as General William Tecumseh Sherman, Henry Morgan as General Ulysses S. Grant, and Raymond Massey as Abraham Lincoln. George Peppard is Zeb Rawlings, who brought the law to the West. And Carolyn Jones portrays Julie Rawlings, whose courage matched that of her fighting husband. And there were the men who brought the railroad, like Mike King, portrayed by Richard Widmark. How the West Was Won startles your eyes with a huge and colorful panorama of the glorious frontier, with all its reckless adventure and its awesome violence. With its spirited romance, its lusty Old West fun, and its breathtaking action spectacle, the most fabulous film ever conceived from any standpoint.
Hitch a ride and careen across the countryside as the wonderful world of the Brothers Grimm sweeps you into an exciting new world of rollicking entertainment, happily enlivened by a distinctive cast of stars. Lawrence Harvey and Carl Bone portray the two brothers who together told 1,000 stories the world will never forget.
Once upon a time.
Share the true life adventures of these incredible young men, their friends and their enemies, their lives and their loves. It was easy to fall in love with the dark-haired beauty of Claire Bloom and the blonde loveliness of Barbara Eden. Out of the world of reality, their fabulous stories actually come to life. Favorites like Hansel and Gretel, Cinderella, Rumpelstiltskin, and the Cobbler's Elves, George Pal's famous puppetoons.
To whack with a tack and a hammer, your eyes light up and your heart goes boom,
Yvette Mimeo is exquisite as the dancing princess who loses her heart to popular Russ Tamblyn. Jim Backus rules a jovial court. And hilarious Terry Thomas portrays a dragon-hunting knight. But he leaves his fighting to that stalwart hero, Buddy Hackett. The wonderful world of the Brothers Grimm not only will startle your eyes with its breathtaking vistas and warm your heart with its human drama, but it will transport you to the storybook world, where you can dance with a beautiful princess or fight a duel with a fire-breathing dragon. In a wonderful world of romance, adventure, songs, spectacle, and stars.
Take you half around the world in 238 days. And there's a new thrill for each and every one of those days. The unsurpassed exhilaration of finding yourself on a tall ship, trying to get your land legs the hard way, a breakneck ride down a mountain through cliff-hanging streets, the tropical limbo and jump-up dances to that irresistible Trinidad beat, fabulous underwater feats, skin diving from a submarine at the bottom of the ocean, a danger-filled hunt to find and prevent the detonation of an unexploded torpedo.
Kari waits for me at home, oh, Kari waits for me.
While we sail the waves, I wave my love goodbye. The kisses that she saves, I'll gather by and by. Everybody loves Saturday night. Everybody loves Saturday night.
New York, seen for the first time through the magic Ouija lens. A fantasy of dazzling impressions that grip your imagination. Just to keep limbered up, the boys try their hand at some red-hot jitterbuggy. Back on shipboard, with the Windjammer's young crew fighting the worst Atlantic storm in 10 years. Atomic maneuvers on the high seas with a U.S. Navy task force. By the rocket's red glare, 20th century style. From beginning to end, the Windjammer hurls you into a blood-stirring variety of unforgettable sights, sounds, and sensations. Remarkable photography and indescribably beautiful color.
This is Russia, on the move. Russia, a giant among nations, a world in itself. Many countries in one. A land of contrasts and extremes. Daybreak over the water in far and eastern Russia is night in Moscow. Because the Union of Socialist Soviet Republics spans more than 6,000 miles. In many time zones from its eastern to its western boundaries. If you went from one to the other, you'd reset your watch 10 times. In Russia, the modern and the medieval, centuries apart in time, share common ground. For in moving ahead, the people never forget to look back on the splendors of the past. Carefully, they preserve the art and the architecture of other times. As in our country, people of many different descents share citizenship. People of the East and the West, people of Asia and Europe. Moscow is the cultural, political, economic, and scientific center for the 15 Union republics that make up the USSR. Moscow offers a wide choice in entertainment. You can go from the ballet to the breathtaking circus. Circus performing is really an established profession in the Soviet. The government runs a school, you know, for training the artists. When you think of Russia, you must think of the ballet. And here in the heart of Moscow is one of its cathedrals and cradles, the Bolshoi Theater and School. Its history goes back to 1776. Out of the hundreds of children who apply each year for admission to the school, only 30 to 40 are accepted. Beginning at age 7, they learn the basics of the ballet. Practice, practice, practice. The dancing is over, and dawn comes to the city of Moscow. About 11 hours earlier, the light of this new day first fell on Soviet soil, on the Pacific coast far to the east. That is the scope, the sweep, and the size of Russia.
Everybody, this is Lowell Thomas. One night in 1952, Marion Cooper and I unveiled CInerama. During the following years, more CInerama productions were made, and today, every CInerama fan has his own list of high spots, favorites from the first 5 CInerama classics. Surely these deserve an encore. We have an encore. We have selected some of the greatest scenes. Here they are. The best of CInerama. The gleaming, glistening snows of Switzerland, land of alpine peaks and glaciers, rugged land, rugged people. When we think of mighty wonders of nature, 2 names always come to mind: Niagara Falls and Victoria Falls. The outlying atolls from the sea or the sky, jewels of land in magic waters. For here are the true South Seas. We're now headed back centuries in time to a far more primitive age. The men start to build a tower from which they jump to prove that they are better, stronger, and braver than the women. The Greeks of antiquity rated the pyramids of Egypt as the greatest and the oldest of the 7 wonders. Egypt, with Cairo its modern capital, where imagination takes us back to the pharaohs, and to Paris. Paris Awakening. St. Mark's, Venice. The square of St. Mark's, which Napoleon called the grandest drawing room in Europe. This is the Venetian equivalent of the parade down the avenue, the cavalcade of horses, the motorcade of autos, the marching of soldiers. But here, Main Street, of course, is a canal. Africa, dark continent of long dramatic legend. His name is Butera, hailed as the greatest dancer in Africa, the Nijinsky of the Watusi. A dog's life at Waikiki. Oh, to be a dog at Waikiki. Now the Grand Canyon, in all its spectacular wonder.